Okay, so we've all seen Alyssa Liu, right? Like we're all captivated and enamored by her talent. She is arguably, I would say, like taken over the media in a great way. I'm very happy that the world is so obsessed with her, as we should be. But I was initially drawn to her because of the way she thought. I think I'm drawn to a lot of people by the way they think. I find that the people I look up to have different ways of thinking and allow me to think about different things by result. And so the way that I came across her was through social media clips of the way she was talking about her performance and how she was just there to have fun and didn't care about the outcomes. And that was quite refreshing. I think in today's day and age, we see a lot of this grind mentality pushed upon us. And like, yes, there's importance to that, but in a way, it can kind of be destructive and actually not helpful. So I found her stuff to be very, very refreshing. And then, of course, I saw her perform. I wasn't really in tune to the Winter Olympics. I fear because I was just so busy. But when I watched her performances, I was like in shock. She was so free. And then I showed my dad, and he was obsessed because of the fact that you could tell she was having fun. And that was a big differentiator between her performances and a lot of other people's performances. And so I wanted to break down her psychology in a scientific way and see how we also could implement that, because the way that she behaves obviously has worked well for her and is just a really a fun way of thinking, and I've personally loved it. And so yeah, here's kind of the neuroscience behind her mentality and why it works. Okay, so to start, I want to talk about her story because I think that's a little bit important. And if you don't know her story, I'll tell you really quickly. She was like a child ice skating prodigy. And by prodigy, I mean prodigy. She was winning championships at like 13, and she was doing all these crazy things. She went to her first Olympics, I believe, at 16, and she did not win gold there. But it was after that Olympics, that Olympic run, that she decided she wanted to retire. And the purpose of that was because she found no more joy in the sport. And she felt as though she was being controlled because a lot of the things that she wanted to have creative authority and control over, she didn't, such as the clothes she was wearing, the performances she was doing. She was even controlled on like what she ate and how much water she drank. So she felt as though the sport was no longer fun. She decided to retire through an Instagram post before telling anybody else. And then she took a break. She did whatever she wanted, and then she came back, I think 2 years after taking a break, and stepped back on the ice, and slowly but surely she found her way back to loving the sport again. And then she just naturally, casually made her way back to the Olympics, and her approach was very different. She explained how the last time when she was 16 at the Olympics, she felt very pressured and very stressed, and the environment wasn't as great. But now that she was, I think, 20, and at this past 2026 Winter Olympics, she felt as though she had nothing to prove. Nothing to prove. She felt as though there was no stress. She just got to express her art and do what she wanted to do and perform for the crowd. And that was it. Like, that's all she wanted to do. And so she didn't care if she won or if she lost. She didn't care about any of the stuff that a lot of people do care about, and that creates added pressure. And you can definitely see that in her performance. She's just free and having fun and not really too stressed, because you can tell when someone is stressed, you're not going to be as loose. Your body's literally going to tighten up and be stressed, and you can tell in her performance she's so free, and that allows her jumps to be high, that allows her to like skate so well. And I'm not very knowledgeable in the ice skating world. I fear I'm not, but I could just tell comparing her performances to other skaters' performances that there was a clear difference. And so that's a little bit about her backstory and why her approach is just different than it was last time. And so I did a little bit of digging for you all, and what I found was a lot of performers and high performers categorize competition as a threat. And your brain cannot tell the difference between a tiger coming into your room and probably looking at you with hungry eyes, or having to go perform at a competition. Your brain unfortunately cannot tell the difference. You can, and that's great. That's fantastic that you can tell the difference, but your brain cannot. And the reason why that's important to know is because when you are fearful in any sort of way, you have a region of your brain, a structure in your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is known to be the emotional processing center and also the fear center in your brain. It's responsible for something called fight, flight, or freeze, which is something you may hear or heard of. And what that means is if, for example, a tiger walks into your room, you can either fight the tiger, which good luck with that. You can find a way to run away, so the flight, or you can freeze and genuinely freeze. Those are natural biological responses to a stressed state. So when you go to a competition, your brain unfortunately cannot tell the difference between a tiger or you just needing to go perform and do your sport. And when you have that, your amygdala is going to start firing, which is inherently going to trigger specific physiological responses that will inevitably alter your performance. So, for example, in Alyssa Liu's case, when it was she was 16, it was 2020, she was in a stress state. So that meant her amygdala was firing in a way that caused her body to start behaving differently. Her jumps weren't as high. Her muscles were stricter, like more tight, I mean. Like, so that alters someone's performance and also puts mental pressure on yourself. And a lot of athletes know this. The way your psychology is prior to a performance definitely alters your performance overall. So a big thing about Alyssa Liu's mentality is her lack of the threats, that threat response that she gave, that it was like all or nothing. She had to win gold because she didn't. She said she did not care if she won gold. She did not care if she lost. She did not care about anything else other than stepping on that rink. She said as long as she stepped on that rink, that's all she wanted to do. She just wanted to perform. And that is also entirely in her control. We oftentimes find and want things that are out of our control. But unfortunately, Alyssa could not control if she won gold or not. The only thing that she could control is stepping on that rink. She could try her best to make the performance the best that it could have ever been, but she's not in control of the judges. She's not in control of the other performers. So the only thing that she had control over is what she wanted, is what she set her goal to be, which is getting on that rink and doing the best she could. That is the only thing that she could control, and she did that. And by you restructuring your goals in that way, it alleviates the pressure off the amygdala, and so you're not going to be entering this fight, flight, or freeze state, which is important because that allows you to perform properly and without your brain kind of going cuckoo. There's also another term in psychology called the self-determination theory, which kind of talks about the difference between feeling obligated to do something versus actually choosing to do something. And the difference is very clear in your biology and your neurobiology, because when you feel obligated and feel forced to have to do something, your brain is going to activate that threat response a lot more. Like it just is. So when Alyssa was going to the Olympics at 16, we already talked about this, she had a lot of pressure on herself. That's primarily because of external obligatory things that were happening. You know, she had pressure from her coaches, from her father, other people, pressure on herself. Like, she had all this pressure on herself. She felt obligated to do it, and as a result, her amygdala starts firing. Her fear center starts firing, and that's going to alter her performance. Her muscles are going to be tighter. She's going to have more pressure on herself. She's going to psychoanalyze every move while she's still performing. Like, it's not going to be a performance anymore. It's going to feel like a test. And so you've all taken a test before. That can be stressful. It's kind of obligatory a lot of times. And so that obligation and that feeling of force triggers your amygdala, and that's going to create that fear response. It's also going to kind of just 100% alter your perception of the event as well. But when you choose to do something, that alters your reward system pathways. You're going to have more dopamine, and that's crucial, because that's when you find love doing whatever it is you want to do. Alyssa commonly talks about how she did not like skating anymore. She kind of hated it, and that we've all like stuck around and done things that we didn't enjoy anymore, but we just did it because we kind of had to. That's where she was. But you also know that your performance kind of sucks when you do that. When you do something that you choose to do because you want to do it, because you love to do it, your dopamine fires, you get more excited to do it, and just naturally, like genuinely naturally, because of that biological response and because you're excited to do it as a result, you're going to perform better. And so self-determination theory really just talks about how when you choose to do something, you're going to have higher reward system activation. And because of that, you will perform better rather than when you have obligatory and like other pressures on you, you're going to actually not enjoy it and you're going to have more amygdala firing, which is going to create a larger stress response for you. And also, I just want to touch on this thing. She removed all the things that gave her pressure. Like, she changed her team around. She made sure that she had control over what it is that, used to upset her and make her stressed out, like the songs that she was dancing to and the skating to, sorry, or the clothes that she was wearing. Like, she gave herself control over all of that to ensure that everything that was giving her this pressure and making her not enjoy the sport anymore was gone. So she had control over it. So she therefore had control over her own enjoyment of the sport, which is huge. When you can remove the things that are giving you that pressure, you're removing the pressure off your amygdala and you're removing that threat state. You're removing the threat from your brain and your brain can chill and relax. And when you can do that, you can perform better. So I also think that is a massive, massive, massive point. Like, she completely changed the architecture of her team and that changed her environment and therefore her behavior and therefore her performance, which so cool. But I think the most important part of her psychology is actually the fact that she gave herself permission to do whatever it is she wanted, so in her case skating, without the need to get the gold medal. The gold medal didn't define her. It didn't make her a great skater. It didn't tell her who she was. She had actual authority and control and told the world who she was rather than the world telling her who she ought to be. And that is ultimately what helped her win the gold, because when you're trying to achieve something, you're in a never-ending race. And that puts, again, pressure on your brain. You're not going to perform as well. And so when she let go of all that pressure and she allowed herself to just be, the gold medal didn't mean anything. It didn't change anything for her because she just wanted to skate. The gold medal didn't define her as a great skater. It may have told the world, like, hey, she's back, but she always knew that. That didn't change her internal perception of herself because she always knew that. And whatever you consider yourself to be is more important than what the world tells you to be. And so she considered herself to be great enough, good enough to win a gold medal. If she got a gold medal, she didn't have control over that, but she had control in knowing that she was good enough for that. And that's who she was as a person. And so the world eventually reflects that. So that's something else, very cool part of our psychology that I definitely did want to mention, because it's not really like tied to neuroscience, but it's definitely tied to just human behavior and the way like the world is kind of a reflection of how we see ourselves. But that's another video for another time. And so I think for me, I really like Alyssa Liu's approach to her sport and life because it's very refreshing and it's something that I think we all can learn from. Someone who is arguably at the top of their field, in a competitive field in that of itself. Like, it's a very competitive field, an Olympic sport. Like, she's does not care. And she knows her own like worth. She knows she's good enough to win gold. If she got gold, whatever. If she didn't, whatever. Like, it didn't matter to her. And so I think we all can learn something from Alyssa and also just take these pressures off of ourselves, because that's when like the good things actually come. When we put so much pressure on it and want it so bad, it just kind of runs away from us, which is like detachment in a way, which, oh my gosh, the neuroscience of detachment, that could be a cool one to research. But like, yeah, it is like, we've all heard of it before. And so saying you're detached is one thing, but like actually being it and embodying it is very different. And so now I'm curious, what's the difference in that and like your brain and like how you feel? I'm very curious. Maybe that's something else I'll be looking into. I'll add on to it. But yeah, I like would love to implement more of this into my life and implement more of the. She's very nonchalant. She's very chill, and I'm kind of not, kind of am, kind of not. And so I'd love to just kind of give my amygdala a break and just chill out and realize that like you don't have control over a lot of things. And so just set your goals according to what you do have control over. And when I've done that, I found so much, like, I just found so much more ease in life. So I highly recommend that. I'll definitely be implementing that more. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a fun time talking about it. And now I'm very excited to start learning about detachment neuroscientifically. So yeah, I'll see you next time.